Welcome to ComicCast, issue number 171, brought to you by Dwayne's World Comics and Games, 457 East Sullivan Street in Kingsport, Tennessee. They carry comic books, graphic novels, statues, toys, and gaming merchandise, including miniature games, board games, and RPGs. Check them out, Dwayne's World Comics and Games, Kingsport, Tennessee. My name is Boogie Bentley.
And I'm Adam Wade Adams.
I'm Jason.
And this is Gaumer.
We are at ComicCast Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Wherever you get social with your media, you're listening to this on YouTube via the S&B Network. Make sure you go ahead and smash that like button. Share out the link. We're going to grow this live chat tonight. Also, we are broadcast on all major podcast platforms via the Outright Geekery Podcast Network. Gets the pre-show, patreon.com/ComicCast Pod. Whew, I'm blown up. This week, we are joined, special guest. You can see we got 5 of us hanging out looking like the Brady Bunch. This guy is a writer, producer, worked in various fields of the entertainment industry, from comic books to TV to film and animation, a jack of all trades, but also a writer of the comic book White Ash, which drops, I believe, January 2020. Charles Stickney, welcome to ComicCast. Am I right on that date?
Yeah, January 29th. It's a weird release month because of, I don't know. But it's January 29th is when there are a lot of new comics coming out.
That might be a good date for you. Sometimes when you get that weird month where you got that extra week, you don't have a lot of stuff on your pull list. That might work in your favor.
Well, the first Wednesday of the month is New Year's Day, so it is weird.
Yeah, I think they might not be doing something. I know the second issue drops 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
In February, because February is a short month. So, you know, if people like the first issue, it makes it really easy for them not to wait too long to grab the second one. So,
nice.
You know, let's hope that works out.
That's on Scout Comics.
That is on Scout Comics.
Now, it was. We'll get into your book. We got to talk about some real life stuff too. But it was a Kickstarter originally, right?
Yeah. You know, I'm a big proponent of figuring out multi-revenue streams, because if you look at what's going on with the comic book industry right now, there's just not enough money to be able to support sustaining a title. So even at a place like Image right now, I mean, if you look on Twitter today, there was a big blow up about books being pirated. And there was a book Crowded, and they were talking about their actual numbers. And if you look at the numbers and you think about how Diamond takes a cut of about 50 to 60%, depending on the publisher, and you think about how much money is left over, when a book like Crowded, which is a really good book, which gets nominated for Eisner Awards and things like that, is only selling about 3,000 copies for 3,000 to 4,000 copies for an issue. You think about, well, at most that's like $6,000 of revenue coming back to the creator to make the issue. And when you split it between a writer and you split it between a colorist, and like that's nothing. You can't afford to keep making comics like that. So when I was setting out to make White Ash, I was looking really harshly at the numbers and saying, even if I go to a publisher, even if we're at Image, which is the best place that an independent can go to, I want this to something that I can sustain. And I know that, aside from, the biggest names in comics going to Image, you don't sustain a series past about 6 to 12 issues because the numbers just aren't there economically. And then the creator is front loading so much of that, and you can go into debt really quickly. Yeah. So I knew that we needed to kind of create a different paradigm. And so for me, I thought if I could perhaps afford to make it through what I got from Kickstarter, I could then find a publisher who would put it into comic book shops, because at the end of the day, they're two completely different markets. I mean, there's a little bit of overlap, but there's a lot of people who go to Kickstarter for comics because their comic book shop doesn't carry things besides Marvel, DC, Walking Dead, and Saga. Like, forget the other Image titles. Yeah. And so I was trying to create something where I could find a paradigm where I could sustain a series that would go past 12 issues. And we've been really lucky that we've had it. We've been very successful on Kickstarter. I have a huge audience there. We're not one of the ones that usually is like asking for funding the last day. We usually fund within 2 or 3 days. And so I've been able to assemble a book and pay for it and pay a really great wage for everyone who's working on it. And so for me, going into the comic book shops is just a chance for people to see this series and know that we can keep making this. That if they like it, it's not going to disappear after 3 or 4 or 5 issues. That this is something, I've plotted it out for about 60 issues.
Oh wow, jeez.
The series, and so it's like there are things that are happening now in the first couple of issues that are things that are seeded that won't, come to fruition for issue 20, issue 30. And I know I can get to that because I built a model that will both sustain the production of the book, but also let people get it no matter where they are.
So are you saying you're using the direct market for promotion?
No, definitely not. I'm saying I'm using Kickstarter for funding.
Oh, okay.
Which is a big difference.
Sure.
Like for me, the direct market is where the most people are, right?
Okay.
And you'd like to reach as many people as possible, but the real hard economic truth is there's not going to be. It doesn't matter what publisher I'm with, unless you're at Marvel and DC, and even Marvel and DC are canceling their titles very quickly. You're not going to be able to sustain a series past 4 to 5 to 6 issues. You do your mini series. Hopefully your trade comes in that gives you enough money to make the next thing, if that's my sole source of revenue. And so for me, like I would love to just be in the direct market, but I'm also writing the books and creating things. So it's a completely different experience on Kickstarter versus what we're putting out in the comic book shops. So the Kickstarter volumes are slightly bigger. They have different covers. The stuff that's coming out in the comic book shops, there's new pages that are coming in. It's brand new covers. It's more collectible. So we're trying to serve both markets, and those are more in the standard issue size. So I'm writing it in a way that I can basically do both things. And yeah.
Well, I read the volume 1, and it does break up a little differently than you would think a traditional direct market book would finish. Most of them like 32 pages.
Right.
This goes up to 50 pages, I think, for the first chapter. How are you fixing that as it moves over?
it's a really good question.
It's hard to do because I mean direct market, there's rules there, and that's another perk to, I guess, Kickstarter, and you do what you want.
Right. And I think I think the 22-page format, and maybe a little bit longer for the first issue that's been around for a long time, is a bit of an artificial construct, but that's what we're stuck playing with. And I don't personally, as a writer, think that 22 gives you enough value. And I would love to have a little bit more for people, because if you're spending $4 a book and it's 22 and like there's 4 splash pages, you're getting through that in maybe 10 minutes and $4 are gone, right?
Yeah.
So like at least for Kickstarter, I've been doing the bigger experiences. In terms of what we're doing for White Ash, there's a little bit of a natural break, but I've added a couple of pages to the new series, so there's more of a cliffhanger end to where it's going to be. Because I like in the volume that you read, there's some really good cliffhangers at the end of each chapter. So I've been able to structure that up. So the first issue is being broken into 2, the last issue is being broken into 2, and we're adding some supplemental content, which also makes it great, because if you bought back the Kickstarter, here's a brand new series.
Nice.
Here's a series that you like with new material at a price point that you might want to jump on board. And then if you're new to the series in a comic book shop, it's that the $4 entry point is something that I think is worth taking a chance on a new series.
Sure.
We got 15 hanging out in the live chat. Guys, make sure you smash that like button, share out the link. Let's grow this live chat. If you got questions for Charlie, drop them over there. We'll get to him. Anything goes. He will answer any and all questions. He will not deny a single question. It's pretty neat. Connor Hughes, your artist, is hanging out in the live chat. I offered.
Nice.
I tried to get him to come on the show. It says I'm working away. I'll just hang out in the live chat.
Well, I'll tell you, like, if you want to actually talk to Connor, he streams on Twitch a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have checked. So when we're making White Ash, and we have another book called The Game that we're working on together, and he streams every page that he does as he draws it, but without the words. So it's people can get a sense of the art style, and he helps a lot of artists. He's an incredible partner and also an artist to work with. So I love Connor.
Yeah, Drew Manchu says that's a fantastic idea to add value to the series. Sure. I'm a big fan of the artwork in this series. Big fan of the artwork. Chad Johnson, look, you're right, Chad. we have to hit. We got to come out firing on all cylinders.
Hard-hitting question.
Charlie, what's your favorite Rocky movie?
My favorite Rocky movie of the 4 that exist.
That's already a critique on the franchise.
That is a great take there, I guess.
I mean, like I think I honestly haven't seen the remakes, or I guess the extension series.
You don't have to.
That looks like it's good. I really am. I'm a fan of the original Rocky. I like some 70s cinema, so it's the most raw of the bunch. And you don't see many movies often where the hero doesn't lose and the success is just trying.
But he does kind of win.
Yeah. Like
that's the perfect ending. Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but I
No,
agree
no,
with
you-
you wholeheartedly.
we love
Everybody
Rocky.
else
We love
hates
Rocky
the
here.
first one.
Yeah. I also used to be a cross country runner way back in the day. And
Oh,
so
wow.
like between running and boxing, there's a lot of, corollary. So, you'd listen to the Rocky soundtrack to get ready to go running. So for me, like Eye of the Tiger was
Nice.
right, in my wheelhouse. But the first, and that came from Rocky 3. So the best song is in Rocky 3. But I still like the first Rocky for the best film.
William Pace says Creed is good. I think the Rocky Balboa movie is good. But there's no wrong. If you say 1, 2, 3, or one of the first 4, like you said, there's 4 Rocky movies. Any one of the 4 is an acceptable answer. Yeah. How about this? Nightwing 222 says Drago on Mountains We Stand. Isn't that a TV show they're coming out with?
Yeah, they are spinning off Drago into a TV series, I think.
Well, they really brought his character back in Creed 2.
Yeah, I want to see Creed 2
with him and his
son.
son. I mean, I think they really brought him back, and there's a lot to explore there. I mean, maybe he feels the demons of what he did to Apollo Creed and what he did for the country he thought he was fighting for at first. And I think there's a lot of story that can be explored. If there was a lot of story that can be explored with Karate Kid, there's definitely a lot of story that can be explored here.
And let's say Ivan Drago is, the actor Dolph Lundgren is a much better actor than the actor who plays Johnny in Karate Kid.
For sure.
Ralph Macchio?
Yeah, and that too. So, I think, there's definitely a world of potential there.
Yeah. Now the Karate Kid guy, he's not bad, but who's really good is that kid that was in My Cousin Vinny. I'm sorry, I killed it.
That's Adam. That's Adam. I got another fun question that I like to throw at creators on here. Are you reading any current comics, new up to date comics? And if not, that's fine. You can throw some old stuff at us. What do you read when you go to comics?
So the truth is, like, my heyday was back a little bit ago. In terms of when I was in college, I interned at Marvel. I was looking to be a comic book writer, full stop. And then I was also a film major in comics in college, and then that kind of pulled me out to Los Angeles, and so I put that on hold for a while. But so I have been, reading comics for a long time. I took a pause, and as I've been getting back into comics, I've been diving back in. So I try to read anything new that's coming out from Image. Just I'll check out the first issue or two. I'll put a plug in for one of previous guests. I love Going to the Chapel. I think that was a great book over at Action Lab.
David's a great guy.
He's great. He's been really helpful to me on the convention circuit. Everything that Ryland does is also great. Ryland Grant. So I err towards the indies. I just picked up Von Fries though. Just for the art alone, I had to check out that book. It's
Johnson.
Yeah.
Wait, so you read the whole book?
Yeah, of Von Fries?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Can we do something crazy?
Sure.
I'm springing this on you. We have a list that we go through and we do what we call joint reviews. That we're all reading this book and we're going to talk about it.
Sure.
And Von Fries is all on that list. I would love to just pause the show and let's hit Von Fries. We'll give you some overtime and we'll come back and we'll hit on White Ash. Let's do it. Let's talk about Von Fries.
Cool.
Jason has the lead on this book. This is we're improvising here, guys. Charlie doesn't even know what's happening. So we're going to talk about Von Fries.
I'm drinking a.
Yeah, just do it. so Jason's going to lead us in and kind of give us the plot and the summary, everybody that's working on the book, and then we're all just kind of chime in and talk about it. This is awesome. I'm glad you picked this up. Let's talk about it.
So of course, Sean Gordon Murphy, Klaus Janson, and Matt Hollingsworth. This has been in the works for a long time. I guess Sean Murphy and Klaus Janson were homies. They're buddies. And they've always wanted to work together. They've been in the same circuits, and there's a really, really nice kind of letter at the end of the book that was really touching, and they just wanted to have a story to share. They identify with a lot of same ideas and stuff, and it really shows here in Von Fries. I guess the story is almost like a deleted scene from White Knight the first volume, as opposed to the new one, Curse of the White Knight. But so it's kind of like a late delete scene, you know. But it's really, really cool. I thought it was interesting just to see the history of Mr. Freeze's father and his family, and his connection to Nora and this universe, which is quite a different take. But overall, oh man, it was very impactful. I thought with the arts and of course, you know, you can feel the panic, you know, with the families running away from the Nazis and stuff. And overall, I thought it was a fantastic book. If anyone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, I will.
I was gonna say I can fanboy out first.
Yeah, I dug it a lot. I just want more from this universe. I don't care who's drawing it, I guess, because I didn't miss any of the art from Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I should have, but I didn't. So yeah, more of this universe, more of everything. This was wonderful, dude.
You guys, you guys know going into this how much I'm gonna love it. This is my thing. And we talked about it off air before we started. I want a mini series of this. I want more of this Baron von Freeze and Jacob Smithstein. Not sure how to pronounce that. I want more of their relationships, the complications of their friendship and partnership. And this book sucked me into a world. When we were talking about it off air, Adam's like, oh yeah, it was real life. And then I flipped the page and Batman's there. But that's what I love.
Exactly.
It's this real world scenario that pulls comic book characters into it with the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany. And so many people, I'm gonna make you guys mad. So many people throw this Nazi word out there today, and it's almost lost the meaning of the true word. And when you read a book like this and you see what the Jewish people went through with Nazi Germany, it's heartbreaking. And I'm reading this book, man, and it's just emotional for me. But again, it goes back to I love World War II history, and maybe it's because I'm a miserable human being, and just sad stories are what I like to read, and that's what this is.
Yep.
I just want people to stop throwing the Nazi word around. If somebody has a different political view than you or a different point of view on the world than you, don't throw that word around, because it takes away from this. That real life story. If you didn't know, the Allies defeated Nazi Germany in 1944. Grab a history book and read it, or let Sean Gordon Murphy tell you this story.
Yeah, I mean, there's still neo-Nazis around now.
Sure,
but I think when people use that term Nazis, it's
100%.
supposed to deal with fascism and people that with the fascism mentality. So sometimes it is deserved to be called a Nazi, like a slang. And I guess there's some people call people SJWs too, when that's more of a liberal stance, when it isn't exactly applicable. But I see what you're saying. Right. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, what works about it is it takes its time. And I mean, and you see this with White Ash. I like to take my time when I'm telling a story too, because I think, the core of what makes a story work is the characters. Mm-hmm. And, with certain characters, you have an emotional shorthand. Because you have a relationship built up over time, so you can drop right into a Batman story, you can drop right into a Spider-Man story, and you already have a relationship with it. It's the same way that when you were the comedian, like if you're watching a comedian you love, they can have a small joke, but you'll think it's really funny because you've already invested in them, and to think, they're funny. This person's funny, as opposed to a new comedian who has to win you over. So, but because it's set outside the normal universe, because they're allowed to play with the page lengths, they're just allowed to tell a story. So they have enough time to really get you to become invested in the characters, like Jacob, people who are new to the dynamic, and make you feel that world. And again, that's also something I like to do. Like in White Ash, it's fantasy creep. It slowly seeps in, but you spend time investing with the characters, because if people don't buy your characters, they're not going to buy the series. And so, for me, that's what I loved about this, and the art. I mean, I'm a big fan of Klaus, because he's about storytelling versus, just trying to come up with something to, like the crazy panel layout, or just overly, detailed characters. It's also what I love working with Connor, because he's an incredible storyteller too.
How about that story in the back from Klaus, and how emotional he was, having family that was in Germany at the time that this took place? There are two sides to every war, to every story. And man, it's just, it was a heartbreaking story for me. That's why I love World War II history. It is heartbreaking, but the artwork, I agree, was phenomenal. But I think the colors, Matt Hollingsworth. Yeah. Oh, great colors. Great. Yeah. I'm telling you guys, for me personally, and I get if you didn't like it or didn't, whatever, for me, best comic book of the year. I loved this story. I loved it. Anything else anybody wants to add about it? I know Adam didn't really enjoy it, but
go ahead, Adam.
I was going to keep my mouth shut since everyone's enjoying it.
Please.
I don't know. I'm listening to you all talk about it. I think it's just not my cup of tea, as a lame expression goes.
It is pretty lame.
Yeah, it's
lame when you say it every week. I mean,
it's just
gotta go back to your hated it.
Because you all are you're getting all this stuff out of it. It's about and I know Nazi Germany, World War II, all the atrocities, but I did not get that in this book, or I did not get that out of this book. It felt like the story just kept going and going, and then at the very end, we get Batman with the Wayne heirloom hopping in a Batmobile with Harley Quinn. It's like she just shows up in the Batmobile.
And you said in the pre-show, like, oh yeah, the Nazi Germans, and they got a freeze gun on them.
Yeah, they got a freeze gun.
You were taken out of the historical context because of the comic book context.
But on the flip side, that's what makes it fun for me.
Exactly.
Well, I love World War II history, so maybe that's not fair.
It's that
Adam is trying to say it's not history because they had a freeze gun shooting the Nazis.
They're blending the two together.
It's like, say, okay, Bruce Wayne became Batman. He took on the mantle of the Bat because it struck fear. It scared him, and he wanted to strike that same fear into criminals. So when you say, like, this ancestor of Batman also dress up as a bat, I'm like, all right, you're wanting me to buy this coincidence right now. So the whole thing with Mr. Freeze. So back in Nazi Germany, they had freeze gun technology already, but yet Mr. Freeze, I feel like it's taking away from that character to say,
saying because the Nazis scared him, he should have been Nazi Man instead of.
It's like when they do that, I feel like they're saying that they're taking away from that what makes that character special, saying it already happened. It already happened.
I didn't even see it as connected to the Batman universe so much when I was reading the story. Yeah. And I think, like, I was actually taken out of it when Batman showed up at the very end. I was like, why did they add this in? Because I didn't realize it was a spinoff. And then I read that letter. I was like, oh, so they're tying it in. Okay, that makes sense. But I would have been perfectly happy if the story just ended without that. I could have spent more time.
I completely agree
in that universe. And I could see the adventures of his dad. Like I could see that world as its own thing. But like to your point, I mean, I think it's totally fair as a reviewer to say there are certain types of stories that I like and certain types of stories that I don't like. And have to understand what your natural bias is when you go into a book. Do you like adventure stories? Like, I'm at different points in my life where I just don't want to see some TV shows that are just too depressing and have things that happen to children because I have children. And I can, understand these are great shows, but I don't want to watch it.
That's what I feel about that TV show called This Is Us, because all it is just easy drama bait. It's easy. You can think up the worst ideas and possible and just record them and be like, oh, here you go. Here's a sad story. And it's empty to me. Like that whole entire This Is Us show is like the worst dreck of TV that's out there, but people love it because it's so dramatic.
Like, there's somebody on the flip side like me that is like, I love sad stories. I don't know why. And maybe that's why I get drawn in.
They gotta be compelling though and real though. I'm saying, you know what I mean? You can't.
But this was Von Freeze was right.
Yeah, right.
You don't think it was?
I loved it. I loved this.
I love this story. I love this story.
I maybe and maybe just like what Charles was saying, it's where you weren't seeing that. You were seeing the history, the what happened, and the fact that now Bruce Wayne and his family and Freeze and his family, his relative or ancestors, were part of this historic, this part of history. You all were seeing that and loving it and everything. Where I was just seeing as it was like, all right, okay, I feel like this is taking away from our characters we have established: Bruce Wayne, Batman, Mr. Freeze, all of that. And I feel like they're just trying really hard to tie it together. And I could not. I was getting the story, but I could not put that out of my head to enjoy the story. It just kept bothering me and bothering me.
And I think if you're trying to tie it into the standard Batman universe, if you're bringing those things in, if you want a Batman story, it might not be the best thing. Again, if it didn't have Batman at the end and it was just a standalone historical fiction piece, I think it functions really well as that. You know, I'm not cut off on the current Batman continuity. So I don't know about how it integrates, but I will say it's like a standalone story. I thought it was an interesting story, but if I was waiting for something to happen, something to tie it in, and I was thinking about what is this changing, like, you know, like that's a completely different experience and a valid one. So
it would be like if went back in time and say Killer Croc's ancestors, his great grandfather was a crocodile, had a crocodile farm or something, and it's like, oh, are you wanting me to buy this coincidence? Right. For these ancestors to say, and of course he's going to end up being a half crocodile, half man in the future. It's stuff like that kind of just puts me off. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done.
That was a fun review. I enjoyed that conversation. I knew as soon as I saw it was tied into World War II, I'm gonna dig this. But I loved it. Great story for me. Let's get back to White Ash and let's talk about what Charlie mentioned earlier, talking about character development and pacing of a story. Because when I read
like Why the Last Man, how it kind of like the pacing and developed, you know, it had like little more things happen. You know,
I like the character. I like
this. Yeah, totally.
The world where we're at, the coal mining town, and the character development. But this is me. This is personal preference. I would much rather read a book where you hook me on your characters and I care about them, then we get into the story. And I felt like you did that in the first issue. I felt like it was character driven.
Well, I mean, like that's my goal. And I think it depends on who you're working with also as an artist. And if the artist can do poses that elicit emotion. And so like that's kind of a synthesis that you need to know going in. Because if you don't have an artist who can handle those subtle beats to be able to evoke the kind of emotion from a scene and from dialogue, you might have to have other shortcuts and you might need to move things up quicker. So I was really lucky that I was working with Connor, who's really good at those small moments. And the more we've worked together, the easier it is for me to write because I know what he can handle and what I can throw at him. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, for anyone tuning in, you know, like the quick pitch is that I use there's basically two. One is it's Romeo and Juliet meets Lord of the Rings in rural Pennsylvania, which is my way of saying it's a story set in a small town in Pennsylvania where there's going to be some fantasy creep coming in an emotional relationship. Or the other quick pitch that I try to stop people with at conventions, it's like if the guys from Supernatural got stuck in Riverdale, but instead of battling demons from hell, they had to deal with creatures from Lord of the Rings. And, you know, like at the end of the day, I mean, what it's about is something that I think a lot of us can relate to. I came from a small town. And the last thing that I wanted to do was do the same things my parents had done. And like the lead character in this, Alec, he comes from a coal mining town. And the last thing he really wants to be is a coal miner. And I think we can all kind of relate to not wanting to do that horrible job that our parents did, you know, unless your parents have a really cool job and then you're lucky and then you get to, you know, move quickly through that. But, you know, like for him, like he was like, I'm out of town. And then there's an accident at the coal mine. It keeps him in town for a few days. He meets this lovely, young, intriguing woman who happens to be the daughter of the guy who owns the coal mine. There's some sparks happening between the two. Because what I wanted to do was set up a real dynamic where you think that it's about class, but it is about class. It's about immigrants. It's about all these, you know, the subtext is there, but there's also another level where it's like there's these threats that are coming into the town based on this history that goes back over 1,000 years. And that these people start exploring and realizing, which that, you know, his heritage is not what he thought it was. And I think for a lot of us, when we're 15, 16, 17, 18, you know, we don't care what our parents did. We don't care who our grandparents were. You know, it doesn't matter. That's not us. But then you start hitting college and you start thinking, you know, maybe that stuff is important. So, you know, on a macro level, I'm kind of looking at a little bit of that, how our legacy and our heritage informs our identity. And then we get to a point where we kind of want to choose if you want to create your own identity or whether you want to follow in, you know, the path of, you know, what came before you. So I think like all those things I'm playing with, but it's a really fun story about a guy and girl in love dealing with monsters.
Nice.
Are you from Pennsylvania by chance?
My sister lives in Pittsburgh.
That's
and
awesome.
my best friend from college lives in Pittsburgh, so I understand that part of the country.
Yeah.
But the coal mining was important to where I was going with the story. I
Yes.
wanted it to be set in a region that was old enough to have been one of the first colonies that was around. So it kind of left me with either someplace in Virginia or some place in Pennsylvania. And then it was also about the ash tree is really important. So to the mythos of the story, and Pennsylvania has thousands and thousands of ash trees compared to Virginia. So like it was like, oh, I have these connections. So like but I thought about it a lot, about where it should be set in terms of what small town and how that plays in. And the title of the book is White Ash, which is the name of the town. So the town and the identity of the other people in the town are intrinsic to the storyline as well.
Yeah, I live in Pittsburgh, and I definitely caught the Jag-off line right off the bat. I was like, oh my God. And I saw the guy's hat. Had
the Steelers hat. I was thinking about Jason
for the first 2 pages. Then later on, I saw the Steelers hat. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this guy has to be from Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania area. This is amazing. And I feel like there's so much love in Pittsburgh in general. They have like the biggest fanfare out of any sport, anything. Just everyone, if it's from Pittsburgh, people from Pittsburgh are like, mine. I love it. I want it. So I figured if you just put the P Pittsburgh Pirates like thing on your book, people are gonna be like, I need this. The whole entire city is gonna buy it, guaranteed. It's so awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I think if you are writing and creating something, it's really important if it's not set where you are and you can walk outside and look, that you do a lot of research. So I mean, I talked to both my friend from college, my sister, but I also did a lot of research online in terms of the lingo. And I think, you just need to kind of have that level of investment. And Connor did the same thing. He was looking up all kinds of references, and I was sending him stuff about what Pittsburgh looks like. So he could, and he's from New Jersey, so it's not that much of a stretch. I'm currently out in Los Angeles, so it's harder for me to go snap some photos. So,
very cool.
But
I feel like just there's so much, just Pennsylvania love in general. Of course, it takes place in Pennsylvania, but I think if the city of Pittsburgh knew that this story existed, it would just catch like wildfire. So I'm excited to see how the release goes in January, and I'll definitely try to pump it out there myself and tell friends and stuff. So hopefully that'll help.
I called. I think it's Phantom of the Attic. Is that in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I think there was someone named Wayne who was working in that store who I talked to. So I've been that's the other part when you have a smaller title. You have to do a lot of retailer outreach, because at the end of the day, some of these titles that come out from independent publishers are not very good. Or they have a great looking cover and the art inside is terrible, right? And if you're a retailer and you're online and you're looking at previews, you get like 3 sentences and you get a picture of the cover, and you have to decide if you're going to order 5 or you're going to order 15 or 20. And so like I've called at this point over 300 comic book shops around the country and said, hey, we've got this series coming out. Can I send you PDFs? Do you want to check it out? Can I send you a poster for your store? So, we've been doing our best to sort of get it out there.
That's awesome. Phantom's a great pick. Ed Piskor from, X-Men Grand Design. And he's a big manga fan as well. He just came back from a huge trip in Japan that he did. And he got really specific Akira art and things. So we're a really cool guy, but he does his signings at Phantom. Okay. It's a great place as well. I also recommend New Dimension Comics. They put on Three Rivers Comic-Con every year. It's a new thing. Great stuff.
Yeah, definitely been in touch with them too. And that's the other thing, is you get to know all these amazing shops around the country. I've been tweeting out some in my Twitter feed, some of the shops that were particularly receptive to newer creators and embrace them, which has been great. I don't know where the rest of you guys are at. I can maybe remember some of the great stores, but you probably know some too.
We're scrambled all over the place. East Tennessee, Central Tennessee, Georgia, Pittsburgh. We're all over the place, guys.
I don't claim it.
We got 23 people hanging out in the live chat. Make sure you smash that like button, share out the link, follow Charlie on Twitter. I got it there up on the screen. Back this book, support this book. I love the grind. I love seeing guys work. Talking about calling comic shops and putting in that extra work and going on podcasts. Look, it's not fun to come onto a podcast with 4 guys that you've never met in your life, but this is how you spread the word. And the way you do that is by letting people see you as a human being. Not look, you can come on and talk about your book all you want, and if it's a great book, sure, it'll sell. But when you come on and you say, "Oh, I picked up Von Freeze this week," that's what comic fans want to see. And you coming on here and talking about that, I think that goes a long way. Is there anything else you're reading right now? I know you said you picked up Von Freeze. What else? What inspired you to get into comic books?
Oh, the first time, the first,
Right.
I mean, like way back in the day. I mean, like it was. I mean, the first, like when I was a little kid, I had a couple of comics, and then I was a collector of Transformers, as I think a lot of people were.
I was.
And I love the Transformer cartoon from the 80s. And Marvel had their Transformers cartoon. And I picked up a 3-pack at, I think it was like a JCPenney's or a Bradley. And it had the first 3 issues of, the Transformers. And in the 3rd issue, Spider-Man was in it. And I was like, oh, I love Spider-Man. Maybe I should go check out what Spider-Man's up to.
Yep.
And so I went to the store. I was like, oh, this is great. And it was the middle of this gang war series. And Daredevil came into it. And I was like, ooh, Daredevil seems kind of cool too. And then, 3 months later, I was getting 50 different titles every month from Marvel. And I had been, indoctrinated in. And I just wanted to be a comic book writer. I wanted to be an inker, because I'm an artist, but I didn't think I was quite good enough to be able to make the cut where I could churn it out quickly enough. And I thought maybe I could find work as an inker. And so I was studying inking. When I was in college, I interned at Marvel. So I have been involved with the comic industry for a really long time until I got shanghaied by the entertainment industry and then moved out to LA and was working in animation and some other things. And eventually I've kind of crawled my way back to comics, and it's just taken me forever to get back here, but I'm loving every minute of it. Doing conventions. I've been at San Diego the last couple of years. I'm looking at maybe doing Rose City Comic-Con this year. Connor was at New York Comic-Con this year with Scout. They had him signing an exclusive issue, New York City Comic-Con exclusive of White Ash. So it's been really nice because the comic book creator community is amazing. Like they really embrace new people, especially if you're going to help them too. If you are selfish and you go in just thinking about yourself, but if you can go and bring something and help other people, they will just open their arms to you. And I will say, I have been on because, starting out in Kickstarter, I've done a fair number of podcasts, and you guys aren't so bad.
We're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. So I'm not but also grinding, right?
We need a super one with David Propose, Rylan Grant, and you, just everyone kicking it.
We'll
you're
kick Adam. We'll kick Adam off, and that'll open up room for David and Rylan.
It's only a matter of time.
It'll be great.
I've actually been on a couple of panels with Ryland at San Diego and
that's awesome.
And so he's I've been on there with him, and then at LA Comic-Con I was sharing a table with David, which was also really great too. That man can sell. If you ever go to Comic-Con with him, he will just rope you in. You'll get 4 more books than you thought you would before you.
You ain't kidding,
no,
dude.
He is dangerous. I need to learn how to do that. So.
Well, what?
Go, Adam.
Well, I mean, you kind of explained it a little bit as far as what people, they want to choose to be their own person, but what made you want to tell this story? What sparked this story of White Ash?
I mean, I think there's a couple of different things that the story grew out of. I think that the core relationship between Alec and Lilian was something that kind of came to me. And if you've read this, I don't want to completely give away who they really are, but when I started thinking about that relationship, which, has been touched upon in a couple of different things, I was like, oh, we must have seen this on TV or somewhere before because it feels very familiar. But then I started thinking, no, there hasn't been a TV show. There hasn't really been a comic that's grounded in this kind of dynamic, especially set in our world. Sometimes in fantasy worlds you see that. And so I just thought there was a great potential based off that relationship. And then I started thinking about what would put them in our world and the history to get us there. And so, I also like to tell stories that are about people discovering who they really are. And I think in a lot of different ways. I think a lot of us go through that journey when we're trying to figure out who we're going to be one day. But I particularly like stories that like it's in the Harry Potter vein. It's in like like I like the magicians a lot too. Like when you find out that there's more to this world than you thought. And I think a lot of us go to religion for things like that. Some people go to comic books for things like that. Some people go to like their favorite fantasy literature. But I think you can tell some great stories that are set against the backdrop of someone figuring out, what I thought is not the whole universe, because that's the story that we all go through as our life. But then you tell the interesting version of that, the one that people want to read.
Sure.
And then when you have Connor doing some art and you have some very attractive people going through that story, it also makes it easy. So
it's funny you say that, because I won't give it away or give anything away, but at one point the thought popped in my head. It was like, I wonder if he could speak parcel tongue.
Sure.
So it's funny that you said that about Harry Potter. I will say this. I know this isn't out until 2020, so I'm not sure which year we would be, but I think panel of the year would have to be that one panel in the stall.
Oh yes.
I thought you were going to say when he took his shirt off, like in Riverdale.
Oh no.
Come on, bro. He's hot, dude. Know it.
I've only got eyes for Archie. Sorry, man.
I will say, like, that goes to Connor. I had written something a little bit less exciting in the panel, and he decided to turn it up to 11. Nice. On that panel, and then we were off and running. And I was like, there's a scene later on when I wrote in the script. All right, there's you see 100 dead bodies. I'm sure you'll be able to figure out how to do it. Good luck, because I knew he could handle things the more we were working together. Nice. But that he ramped it up, and I think he has a really good sense of humor that he puts into some of the visual imagery as well. It's a little twisted, but it's there.
What do you think there would be? Because I kept, it's like I would go forward and then I kept going back to that panel, and I kept wondering, is like I could use a whole page as to how this one panel, like how it's ended up with in this one panel, like all the steps that were taken to do this
for this thing to happen. Yes.
Yeah. What the person's thought process was in doing this, and did he think it would really fit? I don't know. Once people read it, they will know what we're talking about, though.
We're talking a lot about issue number 1, and we've got comparisons to Lord of the Rings. It's funny that you said Riverdale yourself, because before you came in the green room, before we went live, we were comparing it to Riverdale. There are those comparisons to Riverdale and supernatural stuff. What can readers and listeners of this podcast expect in issue 2 and moving on? How because I felt like issue 1 was very character driven, world driven. There was that little bit of at the beginning, this is what you can expect, and then you kind of went more into character stuff. What can they expect issue 2 moving forward?
Well, basically, as the series goes on, the fantasy elements come in, and and that takes the forefront of what the story is. But it's always going to be set in this mining town, and so and not like, while there are these significant fantasy elements that are taking place in this mining town, not everyone in the mining town is aware of these fantasy elements. So like there's kind of having to make, like, the other thing I like to think about a little bit was like the first season of Alias. I don't know if you guys ever watched Alias, but where she still had her college identity while she was dealing with being a super spy. And so there are certain characters that don't know about all these things going on, and Alec having to protect them, as he thinks, from the truth, causes tension and also makes things interesting. But it is a fantasy series, but it's a modern, grounded fantasy. So if if you happen to discover some of these creatures from Lord of the Rings were in your backyard or some of your neighbors, and now you have to deal with what's happening, White ash is a melting pot for a lot of these different things.
I really like that little VHS segment where he caught up on the history. This is the part where the tape changes. I'm not going to spoil it, but that was a good chuckle.
I think, like, especially when you're doing world building, like there are two really important things, at least to me. One is to make it interesting, right? You need to make it interesting, because if you're trying to drop a lot of mythology, if you just have a character doing a big word bubble and having his arm around someone and saying, let me tell you, what's going on, everyone's fall asleep. So you need to find new ways to drop pieces of that. And then whatever those new ways are should also themselves add to the story, either to the tension or to what's happening. So I'm glad you like that. I was really kind of happy with how that,
Like,
worked out.
Like, I think the character's name in Austin Powers was it Basil Exposition,
right?
And his whole job is just to tell you what's happening. Right.
But like when they call that like hanging a hat on it, when you say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Sometimes, you can get away with just filling people in on a lot of stuff too.
Well, this has been a good conversation, man.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed having you on the show. We're going to wrap things up, then we're going to move on with the podcast. Drop any and all plugs. I've already got your social media. I've got your website all down in the description below. So guys, make sure you check it out. Make sure you go to your local comic shop and let them know you want White Ash coming out in January. Do it as soon as possible. Let them know to make sure you get your copy. Any other plugs or anything else you want to say before we get you out of here?
Well, I would say that, it's if you want to pre-order the first issue, especially with an indie title, you need to talk to your comic book shop. Some comic book shops are going to be great and they'll get 5 to 10 copies of this. Some comic book shops might get one because it's a number one. So if you'd like to get a copy, you need to use the order code NOV191869, and you can probably do that for about another week or so. And after that, it's going to be, it'll be done. And then you can just race to the store and fight through the people that will be lining up on January 29th to be able to get an issue. I would bring some weapons because I think there's going to be a bloodbath because those issues are going to be
Well, I'll let you know. It's going on my pull list. You sent us the review copies. I checked it out. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't say that. And I say that every time we get on this podcast. If I don't dig it, I'm not pulling it. I'll let you come on, plug your book, and have a good time. And that's fine. But I read it. I enjoyed it. I want you to get the benefit. We talked about pirating comics earlier. And yes, we provide a service. We're reviewing comics. We're putting eyes on comic books. But if I enjoy something, it's like Ryland Grant Spanjax. He sent us the copies. I'm still going to get that in trade because it's that good. And I want the listeners, everybody that listens to this podcast, to know I'm putting my money behind this book because I like it. So I will be contacting Dwayne's World, letting them know, pull White Ash. I want to read it. I want to see what happens going forward. I just want you guys to know, Sean Gordon Murphy did retweet us and said, I'm listening to you guys live now. Really digging it.
Nice.
He did. So he was checking out our review. So that's
well,
cool.
if he's still listening, I just want to say I grew up in Maine. So, way back in the day. So shout out to Sean Gordon Murphy in Maine.
He signed off and Adam started talking trash.
Yeah, he's like, this is a great review. Adam's like, I don't like this book. He's gone. He left. Gone forever.
I'm sorry, I ruined it for everybody.
Real quick, so I know you said you went to film school. Did you have a favorite like director like Bergman or Fellini, or like a favorite film or a kind of film?
Well, so like there were two different types of film majors in college. There were the film majors who liked all the message films, and there were the film majors who enjoyed watching movies. And I was kind of like in the camp that enjoyed watching movies. So like one of my favorite films of all time is the original Back to the Future, which I think Robert Zemeckis, even though most of the stuff he does is popcorn, is so well thought out. And I think the script for that movie is incredible. Awesome. I would say the script for Groundhog Day is also an incredible thing. So if you're looking as a writer for things that you want to, to model, like that's the kind of thing that, that spoke to me. I love stories that have that little magical something extra. And so that you have two different narratives. And that's the kind of thing that I do with a lot of my work. There's comedy in it, there's romance, and it's just not one genre. I like to say White Ash is the greatest horror, fantasy, romance comic ever set in a coal mining town of under 7,000 people. And I know I ask people to see, like there's no way you can disprove that. So, but like I like the genre mash a lot.
David Lynch in Twin Peaks is like, maybe.
Yes.
It's
like, I also think there's definitely, like, when you say Riverdale, there's also some Twin Peaks influences. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
100%.
that's awesome.
What you're saying exactly, because I went to film school, and where you're saying there's two different people or two different types was absolutely true, because there was like me and some other people are like, let's go watch Last Action Hero, and then there's some other people saying, oh, we need to go watch these art films and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I just want a good laugh. Like my favorite movie is Airplane.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, yeah, because I just feel like it's, where I guess I would not make a movie that Boogie would like, because it wouldn't be sad enough. It would just be.
I'm a depressed human
shit.
being. I like sad stuff. I do. I like sad stuff.
Yeah. Well, and for me, yeah, like you're totally right. There's those two types of filmmakers. That's not to say that you can't find plenty of things in every genre that you like. I'm sure there's a couple of message films that you would have loved. And, I watched the Potemkin step sequence, you learn traits, but it's the same thing. Like, I really appreciate you picking, adding the comic to your pull list, but there are different comics that speak to different people. And that's the wonderful thing, that there are so many comics out right now, and we have such a plethora of options to be able to choose from. And I think we're really lucky to be living in an age where there's so many great books coming out.
Absolutely.
100%.
Awesome.
Well, again, we appreciate you coming on. We're going to let you get out of here. Again, all the links are in the description. Make sure you guys pull White Ash, whiteashcomics.com. Follow Charlie at Charles Stickney. Everything's down in the description below. Thank you for coming on. Any final words? We'll get you out of here.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. White Ash wouldn't happen also, though, without Connor Hughes, and you can follow him on Twitch, and Finn Cram, who does the color work for us, who's incredible. So I always like to, make sure that everyone knows this is a team effort. And so thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your show, and thank you, chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch you down the road.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Man,
awesome.
And thank you to Connor for hanging out in the chat with us.
Yeah, it's so cool. I was like, I saw him in the chat. I was like,
awesome.
Wait a minute, that's the artist. I'm gonna send you the link. Get in here. And he's like, nah, bro. How many times is that the case? Artists are like, no,
all the artists are like, no, I'm working. I'm drawing right now.
But I'm working.
Yeah.
So fun. Dude,
I love the art too, man. I love the art too.
Yeah,
I didn't get to praise that enough at all. So I just want to say I love the art. It kind of reminded me of it slips my mind. It's New Frontier kind of style.
Sure.
I forgot that art. Yeah, Darwin Cook. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Darwin Cook.
I don't want to spoil it, but when I said I kept going back to that panel of the stall, I did. I legit kept going back and looking at it.
That's right at the beginning. And that's like in your face. Okay, let's go.
But I don't want to say what it is, but you all know what it is. And it's like I couldn't stop looking at it. I kept going back to it.
Because you're like reading. Okay, let's go. What's gonna happen?
I'd be like 2-3 pages down the road, and I'm like, I want to go look at that stall panel again.
Yeah, dude. I like I said, I told you guys off air. It's not fluff and bullcrap. I like this book.
Yeah, me
gonna
too.
pull it. I'm along for the ride. Let's see what happens.
That guy that got flushed would have been named Carl. He had a hot Carl.
Oh wow! Wow.
That's awesome. Though. That sounds cool.
Panel of the year goes to Hot Carl.
Good fun. And that Von Freeze review, dude, how cool was that?
Yeah,
right?
So cool
when he said that, I'm like, we're
Mhm.
changing the script.
Yep.
We're changing the script.
Nice.
So that was fun. But let's get
That's
into
why you're in charge, Boogie.
Yeah, bro.
because I'm great at hosting a comic book podcast.
You are.
I know.
You are.
I know. I mean, I keep my stuff up and running. My stuff doesn't crash and die.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry
sorry
about that.
about
I'm
that.
Come on,
podcast
man.
isn't sad.
My heart is breaking.
I'm sorry. Olympia, number 1. Connor Hughes says, Coral.
I only checked it twice
Coral.
in that interview.
Yeah, I know you did. You're not even listening. Me, Adam, and Jason just carrying this show.
I was pretty good at the beginning there.
Yeah, you're like, let me go first so I can check on my
Yeah,
baby.
let me go. Yeah, let me get this out of the way so I can.
Let's
go
talk about Olympia,
cook
number
bigger
1, a
fish.
book that I wanted to crap on.
It was hard to
Really?
It was hard to crap on this.
Nope. I said I
All
wanted
right,
to.
so
Oh,
Opinion
okay.
changed.
All right.
this is a
Hang with me.
my first line is, "This is a 5-comic series, and it's definitely geared towards people who love comics." So I don't like
somebody
it.
else cover it.
No. So we get in this book, protagonist kid Elon Andrews. He's a bullied kid dealing with the death of his father, and to do this, he escapes into comic books. And he then he discovers, after a asteroid crash lands to Earth, his favorite comic book hero is in this rubble.
He needs some Vicodins.
So he pops him some Vicodin.
That's how I get through my day as well.
And boy does a Olympian love Vicodin.
He's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh,
that's how I am
brother.
too.
He's like, "Thank you, brother." And you know, it gives a pretty that's pretty much the premise of this first bok.
Well, we get some backstory with the hero, but it's sort of atypical. It's sort of
and it's kind of on the nose that this is Thor and Loki.
Sure.
A bit. I like the Loki character's name is Villain or Villain, almost villain.
Yeah, like villain. That's what I mean. But it's like purposeful, so it works.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
He wants it to be tropey.
And so after Olympian lands on Earth, and the kid helps him out, and then there's an invasion from Villain, and I guess what were they called in the Avengers movie? The Chitauri, kind of like Chitauri people. And that's where the book ends.
Putties. There you go.
Putties. They were invaded by putties. Thank you, Jason. That's a lot better. And I have a theory.
Ooh.
I think the principal.
We need special theme music for Adam theories.
I think the principal in this book, the principal in Elon's school, is actually Elon from another universe, because Olympian mentions multiverse in the book. So I think the kid and the principal of the school are the same person.
Yeah. This is Last Action Hero with a comic book guy. There you go. That's all you need.
More than that. It's more than that.
Last Action Hero was dope. This is dope.
You want me to go? Do you want me to go now?
That's all I got to say about it. This was dope. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Okay, well, it was cool. I didn't love it. It was all right. And okay is not good enough when you're dropping $100 a week in a comic book shop.
You're not wrong.
But I did think it was cool. But for me, when I read it, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of similar to Platona by Jeff Lemire."
Dude, I had the same feeling.
Yeah, and that's way better book. So I should just pick it up and trade and check out Platona.
I mean, they're not
Jeff
exactly.
I went a little
exactly.
further.
Not exactly.
I have here that it was a kid's version of Unbound.
So then,
maybe.
Then I kept reading it. I was like, you know what this reminds me of is Birthright from Joshua Williamson. Not exactly.
You're not wrong.
Similar tones.
It's a portal. They are a portal story. Yeah.
Birthright's a way better book.
Dude,
I need
Birthright
to go back.
Still going.
I need to go back and get caught up because I'm only on like volume 4.
Me too.
You know what? That's my problem with it. I'm reading it and I'm like, this is okay. The premise is great, but there are books out there that are way better with the same premise. So let me go read Platona. Let me go read Birthright and let this fall to the wayside.
How is this more than the Last Action Hero in a comic book?
Yeah.
Because you said it was more than that. And I mean, Plutona and Birthright are kind of that. But
did you guys read the
This is like exactly that. This is like exactly Last Action Hero with a comic book guy.
This promises to be more like
Hero.
The author, like at the end, you know, the little page at the end, he said, like, you know, it gets. I guess he was writing this when his dad was, you know, diagnosed with cancer, and there's going to be some heart-wrenching stuff in there. So there's your depressing stuff that you might like, Boogie, and then. You know, and then also it got a bunch of praise from, you know, Rosenberg. He said this is like one of the most exciting comics he's been looking forward to, you know. So I was like, geez, this has a lot of like cred and hype behind it. Yeah. So I'm excited to read more. I mean, I'm going to read issue 2. It got me enough to read another issue, you know. So I'm in it for a little bit to see what it's all about. But at first, you know, I was like, not really digging it. Then I'm like, okay, I kind of
have a theory.
Going. What's up? What's your theory?
Little boy's crazier than hell.
Nah.
Yeah,
he's gonna be the kid.
He's popping them pills, bro.
He's popping them bites.
Yeah.
I
What,
mean,
I
what
like
do you
this a
think
lot
it's
too, man.
it's gonna come back and it's going to just be like a homeless guy that he
Well, I
gave
don't
a
know
bike?
about that, but I mean, I think these
like Berserker.
things, I think these things are in his imagination.
Whoa,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on
that's
here?
what I was-
Connor
that's
Hughes
what-
just said that
Yeah,
Sean
Berserker
Gordon
Unbound.
Murphy responded to Adam. What the hell is going on?
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to go check that out, Boog.
There
Yeah,
you go.
you guys keep going. I'm
Gotta
gonna
do damage
research.
control.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really,
Adam.
He's
I
like, we
really
cannot
thought
have Sean
that-
Gordon Murphy mad at us.
Yeah,
I
now
really
Black was
thought
for
that
him
this
too.
was,
Oh wow! Oh my gosh! One quick note about Von Freeze. The original pitch had no Batman framing device. It was just a Freeze story with Thomas Wayne, but DC really wanted Batman in it, so I made some tweaks to please my bosses.
Dude,
which I
that's
was-
breaking
Whoa,
news.
whoa, whoa! Hold on. Which I was happy to do. It's their character and they pay the bills. Also, I wrote this to bookend all the free stuff in TAS. So Victor has been a villain for years and years until he started helping Wayne in White Knight
Oh,
Volume
man.
1.
Oh,
How-
awesome.
What the heck
What?
just
awesome.
happened?
I wish I had a website running
Well.
that I could post that breaking news to. Damn it.
It sounds like he just ironed out all the wrinkles.
He
for us.
did.
Yeah.
Man, what
I
a
think he
great
told you
guy
to shut
again.
your
Yeah.
mouth, is what he told you to do.
What Boogie said?
He told you to shut your mouth, is what he told you to
No,
do.
he didn't.
He said it's
Go
not my
read-
fault, it's editorial, which is
Go
what we
read something
always
sad.
say, man. It's always editorial.
He
messing
was
up
he was
stuff.
he was educating. That's what he
There
was
you go.
doing. He
there
was
you go.
smart.
He was like, tell that stupid idiot drinking root beer to shut his mouth.
that goober. That
How
Christmas.
great is that Sean Gordon Murphy is in the chat listening,
Yeah.
and then again it's his fingers on the pulse, and he's like, oh, okay, this is what this reader thought, so I'm going to address it. Dude, that's cool, man.
That is
That's what we
cool.
need
That's
more of.
Yeah.
Adam had a legit issue with the comic book.
Was it though?
Well, clearly, if Sean Gordon Murphy felt the need to address it, it
He
was.
didn't
It was.
address it. He blamed DC for it, which is fair. I'm just saying. He really
He explained himself, bro.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I would
That was so
say
cool.
I would say maybe he saw some merit in what I said, because I would say if I was just talking as if it was just some not my cup of tea talk, then there would be no reason, because
Sure.
it's like, well, obviously this story was not for this person, so it's not like, I did anything wrong in writing it. So maybe there was some merit. I don't know, but I appreciate the fact that he cleared it up and explained things.
What he said was,
I mean,
you're
look
right,
at that.
Alan
He's
Moore
got the
was right.
knowledge. He's got the background knowledge. It's not like he's just writing stories out of his butt. So
What he said was Alan Moore was right. Again.
Alan Moore. Yeah.
My
So this
story
is-
would have been
so
better
this
if more
is like-
if DC would have just left it alone.
William Fish says, Sean
There you
Gordon
go.
Murphy, please don't assume Adam can read.
so we all agree this is like a kid's version of Berserker Unbound.
I'm
No,
done.
I don't think
I won't
so.
read it.
I
I
don't
won't
think
read a
so.
second issue of this book. Let's
Again,
move on
I'm
to
gonna-
something better. Can we move on to something better?
I'll stress it again. It was Last Action Hero with a comic book guy.
I liked it. I'm gonna read issue 2 because
I
I
am
want to see it be part of this kid's imagination and him break with reality and
I can
have this
relate.
mental breakdown. Yeah,
I want to see Olympia on more Vicodin.
yeah, that too.
I want to go read Birthright. I'm going on vacation here. Oh, by the way, we'll just take care of business on air.
Nice.
I'm
let's
gonna
do it.
be out of town in December, so Adam is gonna be hosting ComicCast.
Oh my god.
Wow,
Oh my god.
that's just
Oh man.
that's just a look of what you can expect.
Man.
I'm gonna be in Nashville, so unless I'm sitting in this office up here with Gomer on his lap, which, dude, let's go drink a beer together. Whatever.
Hey,
We might be able to work that out.
Homer,
We should
Chad,
look for real.
the
for real.
teacher is out of class. We are going to have a good time.
You know what I said to my wife? My wife's like, "What do you want to do? How are you going to host ComicCast?" And I said, "Well, I can get with Adam and show him, the gimmicks behind StreamYard, and he can do it." And she's like, "Well, do you think you might want to do it on Monday when we get back?" And I was like, "I mean, I can mention it to him." And I said, "You know what's going to happen? It's going to be a 14-hour episode, and it's going to be everything that I don't want on my podcast." And that's what's going to happen. But for real, Gomer, we need to hook up.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
I'm going to be down there for like 3 or 4 days.
Nice.
So we need to get together and drink a beer. That'd be
Do
great.
it. Let's do it.
Let's move on. The question.
Is this me?
This is you, bro.
The
This is the only
deaths.
reason you're here.
The deaths of Vic Sage, #1. Jeff Lemire, Dennis Cohen, Bill Sienkiewicz, Chris Sotomayor, and Willie Schubert on the letters. Thank you, Big Willie
Oh,
Schubert.
buddy.
In 67, Steve Ditko created this character called The Question over at Charlton Comics. And that was Rorschach because, again, Alan Moore was right, and they changed it. Anyway, this is a lot. It felt like I had watched like a whole season of a television show by the time I was done with this book. So many connections, so many characters. But really, Jeff Lemire, again, the greatest damn comic book writer on the face of the planet, is able to just write these characters in a way where they're familiar and compelling. And he does it with just very little page, very little real estate. Just really well done. The art fit everything very well. Like there was this noir feel and this socially relevant themes mixed with this underlying occult thing, maybe. I don't know. Let's beat this thing up. There's no reason to go beat for beat on this, man.
Beat it up.
I mean, we could go beat for beat, but so much happens in this that I think it's just better for us to talk about everything.
I loved it.
I loved it.
Corrupt politicians.
I read this week.
Secret society, detective work. It's Jeff Lemire. I love this dude. The dude puts out so much, but the quality is always
exactly
at the top. And I love the second half of this book and how you're kind of seeing everything unfold minute by minute. It's like it's detective noir. It's like minute by minute, 8:38. This is what's happening, and he's walking you through this story. And
he connects those two events, those two big things. My pulse was racing. I was like, "What is going to happen?"
Dude,
and then it just crashes into this big political mess.
That
he's in the middle of.
What I loved is that he brought in some hot button issues with the police shooting and the mayor covering it up. And some people they may or may not like it, but it is what it is. I think Lemire works it in seamlessly. And the way the city reacts and the way the mayor tries to cover it up, there's so much good stuff.
And it's almost like that stuff is a distraction from what the question is actually investigating.
He's on his own thing. He's on his own side.
And he gets back and he's thrust into this new thing that he's got to do because of his alter ego. But Lemire sort of spins it to where it's all connected anyway. And the question is actually, it's beautiful, dude. It's
so
wonderful.
Good. It's up there. It's up there with one of the best issues of the year. It's so freaking perfect.
Agreed.
What is this? Four issues? 4 issues, I think.
I think it's 3. It might be 4.
No, I think it's 4. I think it's 4. Because I think it's a little longer than the normal Black Label. Because I was thinking that Lemire was doing like a 7-issue book. There's one Black Label that's way longer, but I still think this is 4 issues, which is not a lot of time to connect all the dots, but he's going to do it flawlessly. This is great. I loved it. I know Jason loved it.
Yeah, he had to.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, I was looking forward to this for so long. Did it live up to the hype that I thought it was going to be? No.
But Joker smiled.
But I loved it still. Yeah. I mean, it did. That one did for sure.
I'm just saying. These
no,
were
you're right.
in a pod, man, and they couldn't be polar opposites as far as storytelling, pace, direction. I
just really wanted to see like a good detective story, like because I love Ed Brubaker so much. You know what I mean? Like Criminal, Kill or Be Killed. So I was excited to see Jeff Lemire pull that, hat out. And it was good. It delivered for sure. Was it quite up to my Ed Brubaker levels of detective? Not quite, but it had some other great elements in there instead. You got all that.
That's the thing.
I don't know, man. I like this a lot.
I'm not sure if we can compare it to Brubaker. Brubaker,
they're totally different. Yeah,
Brubaker's more straightforward, hard-boiled detective noir.
For sure.
He's bringing in how Vic is kind of torn between these two.
Yeah, but it tried to be hard-boiled at first. You know what I mean? Like that whole time beginning. I was like,
sitting on the detective story, and then I'm going to give you something else.
Exactly.
And he's against sex workers too. He's like, at least I'm not a whore.
Dude, I love that part. Sort of
I took a picture of that, and I was like, I'm going to tweet this, and I was like, I'll just let it go. I'll just let it go.
That shows the duality of the character. He's not, and that's where I got the Rorschach feel. Where he's bringing this back to original question.
Yeah. And that goes back to his black and white mentality. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Good or you're bad. There's no gray line. You know what I mean?
But he's getting filled in on gray. If you don't know what's
right or wrong, then you're probably on the wrong side. So,
exactly.
That's his mindset. That's a character mindset. So,
but I think he's gonna. Cool. I think Lemire is gonna pull away from that and show you that no, life is a gray. Because he's all against this female alderman or whatever for the city, but she's actually working to make things better in the system that is corrupt. And it's impossible to work within a corrupt system and not yourself be corrupt if you're looking at things in a black and white world.
Right.
So, yeah, it really brings up some great potential for the rest of the
absolutely.
series.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's down that hole, and he was gone in that cave for like minutes, but I guess it was hours in reality. So there's a lot of weird stuff.
He brings in like this ninja training stick sort of character.
Yeah, totally.
And it was totally awesome.
Awesome.
Again, Lemire has this way of using character tropes and stereotypes and just putting his little bit of spin on them so they feel fresh, but they're still just so familiar that he doesn't have to waste a lot of panels introducing new characters. It's masterful, dude.
I thought it's great.
It's almost cheating in a way now. It feels like, no, Lemire's cheating. Come on, do something new, Lemire. You're just spinning old crap, but he spins it just so well, man. I love it.
It's so good.
Adam, did you read this? You were holding on to it.
I did. I thought it was. I definitely got the feel that it was the question, because sometimes you kind of. Well, sometimes you get stories with the question, and it doesn't seem like the question.
Agreed. Well, they've changed him so much to fit in DC continuity.
This was so much better than Bendis's question.
And that's the new question, isn't it? Or was that
everything better than this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did have both. He did have both at one point.
Yeah.
Everything better. Well, but I mean, up until I would say one of my favorite incarnations of the question is from Justice League Unlimited.
Oh, sure. Sure.
From the cartoon series. That is, I love that paranoid question.
Yeah. This isn't really that, but you could see he could go in that direction.
Right, exactly. Yeah. The one thing I didn't like though is the art. The art kind of
really,
I don't know. The art did not appeal to me.
I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it.
I did too. I thought it felt like noir. It made the story feel more noir than a lot of the writing did, I think.
But like if Jeff Lemire's writing or drawing this, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Agreed.
And I love Jeff Lemire's art. I love it when he tells a depressing story and he throws his artwork in there.
Yeah.
You know that appeals to me. But this was better with somebody else doing the artwork.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else? We're moving on.
Best thing I read this week, man. It's awesome.
So I wasn't expecting a big.
Oh, here we go, Big Willie.
I was like, why is this?
I know exactly.
I'm an old man. My name's William Pace.
I knew Drew wasn't gonna like this art.
Oh man, Drew Manchu. Hey, shout out to Drew Manchu. Shout out to Jason Cantu. Manchu Cantu review crew. Go check out their review of Annihilation Scourge. It's great. It's great. It's on the S&B Network. Go give it a listen. So
thank you.
So me and Drew agree on the art. Then I guess I don't know. I just didn't like it.
So should we just kick you off and let Drew come in and say that?
Sure.
Adam is so convinced he's going to be kicked off the show.
He is. You keep scaring him. That's like I got to read more. He's like, I got to read more books.
No. If Adam is gone, the show's over. Adam
you're just cushioning the blow so that when it does happen, it's like, oh, okay.
No. Adam is never.
I was expecting it.
If you all hate Adam, the show will die. I told him. I said, when you leave, I'm done. I shut the doors when Adam leaves. So that's it. Love him or hate him, he's here forever.
That's BS.
No, it's the truth, dude.
You keep creating.
You carried me through like 6 months of wanting to drop the show befur Gaumer came on.
It'll be like, yeah, ComicCast is gone. But now it's ComicCast 2 with Ryan and with Gaumer and Jason.
No, it's ComicCast 2 with Gaumer and Jason.
Look at these eyes. Look at both of these eyes. This is the panel I had a problem with, so I had to find it. It took me a while, but yeah, I think it looks hilarious. This guy's face.
Let's get into the X-Minute. X-Minute. I don't even know what game.
It'll be quick. Marauders 2, Gary, Jerry, Dugan, Duggan, Matteo Lally, Federico Blee, Corey Pettit doing the letters. Tom Muller still shouting him out on the design. The Red Coronation. Half of this issue is the internal politics of the new status quo of this Hellfire Trading Company, with the other half with Kate and the crew just being pirates. And it's badass, dude. They get tattoos, they drink, they get a cool new boat. Captain Kate shows up and kicks ass at the Hellfire Club. I'm having a great time with that book. Excalibur #2, Teeny Howard, Marcus 2, Eric Arcianega with Corey Pettit also doing letters on this one. Tom Muller again with the design. Verse 2, A Tower of Flowers. This book is still pulling from that old continuity while still wrapping itself in the new mutant status quo. And it's crazy as hell. It's just crazy magic and Apocalypse being weird, like a magic dude now. I don't get it.
I read Marauders. I didn't get a chance to read it.
Shogo turns into a dragon at the end of this.
Does he do a fatality?
No Liu Kang stuff.
I'm not never mind.
The X books are still great, and they are great because there is a plan at work, and you can see that plan forming throughout the entire, franchise. All of the books, you can see everything feels cohesive, and they're honestly being written and drawn quite well across the board. New Mutants #2 by Hickman and Rice. X-Force #2 by Ben Percy and Joshua Cassara.
Oh, wow, that came out? I missed it.
And Fallen Angels #2 by Brian Edward Hill, Simon Krujansky. Ashley Witter still doing covers on that book. Shout out to her. All 3 of those books drop next.
Oh, wow, yeah, thanks.
Wow.
I just really freaked out because I thought I missed 2 of the only books I like.
Nope. Next week.
I got to pick them up. I got to pick up X-Force.
I totally called Kate being the Red Queen or whatever.
You did. Everybody tried to, and then they were like saying, no, it's not. So then everyone was like, oh, no, they said she's not. But yeah, she kind of is.
Yeah, she is.
There's still some folks missing. I love the political stuff there where they're whining about how they're delivering these goods because some of the countries are greenlit to trade with the mutants, and the Hellfire Trading Company is handling that. But some of them are dealing on the black market, and Emma, still wants that stuff in there. So they've got, what's his name doing that. And he hates it. And Kate, meanwhile, is stealing from both sides. She don't care. So, yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Kate stole the stuff that was going to the black market so that she could give it to some weird African country that, really needs it. And, yeah, just really good stuff, man.
Yeah,
She's a pirate.
Yeah, totally. I like how they're getting tattoos, and they're like, "Oh no, I don't want a tattoo. I don't want a tattoo." And Pyro's like, "Yeah, he has on his face. He's like, tattoo,
face tattoo.
He has a face tattoo now.
I love it,
so
and he'll end up dying anyway and getting resurrected, so it won't be there.
Yeah, if you can get a new body, get one without a tattoo. Yeah, not a big deal. That's
awesome.
So funny.
You guys ready to get into some random reviews?
Hmm?
I want to give our live chat a shout out tonight, man, because we've grown the last few weeks. I think going to 7 o'clock was probably a good move.
I think so too.
Chad Johnson's here every week. Shout out to you, Drew Manchu. Thanks for the content you're providing. William Pace has been here every week. The Mastodon, dude, he showed up for Talking Balls, and I'm like, It's good to see you out hanging out talking comics. Glad to see you in the live chat tonight. Just Eli being here every week. Just thank you guys for showing up, hanging out, and talking comics with it, because you guys make this show, and starting to see it grow is it helps us want to keep moving forward. Charlie coming on and saying, "Oh, you guys are at 171 episodes." There are times that you think about packing it in and saying, "Is this worth it anymore?"
Yeah.
But when we see this live chat growing, man, it makes you want to keep pushing forward. Yeah, we all read comics. We're going to continue to read comics, but you guys in the live chat make us want to keep moving forward talking about comics. But let's get into some random reviews presented by collarandelbowbrand.com. Use the promo code ComicCast. Save a bunch of money on professional wrestling t-shirts that you guys don't want. Gomer's got a ton of stuff on his pile. The only thing I want to mention is Absolute Carnage #5. Wrapped up the event. It didn't even feel like an event.
Well, there's a Venom issue still, I think, next week.
Maybe.
That's part of it.
Donnie Cates, Ron Stegman. For me, this was great. I like this. I enjoyed this. I think this is how we should do events. This didn't feel like an event, though. And even Gomer said it's just kind of leading me to the next step.
Yes.
But that's what I like. It felt like a contained Venom world. And Gomer complained back on issue 2?
Yeah.
They're selling me tie-ins. But I felt like that was the only time. I felt like the second issue was really the only time they pitched tie-ins. Other than that, it felt like a contained Venom story. So if you're reading Venom and you want to read this, pick it up, check it out.
Well, you have to. I don't think you can enjoy Venom without knowing what's going on.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, this didn't feel like War of the Realms. War of the Realms felt like, okay, we're taking over all Marvel. This felt like a Venom story. But if you're reading Venom, pick it up, check it out. And I like that it leads me into where Donny Cates is going to take Venom. So maybe if you're not reading Venom, this is pointless. So maybe because I am reading Venom, I dug it.
It kind of ended on a whimper for me. Eli said it. He loved Absolute Carnage, but it ended a little soon. I think it did too. I think they rushed this last issue, and then by the time you got there, you were like, oh, so it's not really over. I mean, they won, but not really. You know, Carnage lets him in at the end and says, no, either way, I'm going to win. And yeah, Noel's on the way, y'all. That's the spoiler. Noel's on the way.
Looking like never-ending story.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
Exactly what I didn't get. The dragon.
I didn't.
My favorite part of that whole thing is the dude's like, you can wish for anything. The first thing he wishes for is revenge against the bullies who kicked his ass at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Same thing I would do. So very relatable. But this, yeah, it just ended on a whimper for me. I'm excited about the next thing coming, but I don't know. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. I want the events to mean something to the rest of the universe, but I also want to feel like there was completion.
But
to
it's
the
weird
events.
because we say that and then we piss and moan when they take over too many books.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
I didn't read any of the tie-ins.
Well,
you
what's
didn't
the
need
bill?
to. There were no
exactly.
tie-ins. I read the.
I read everything. I read them all. I read everything except for this issue.
I just read Venom. That's it, and I was reading.
So
that
did
already.
any of the tie-ins matter? Because Miles Morales didn't, but I still liked it because I like what Saladin Ahmed's doing with Miles Morales.
Yeah, a lot of them had like stuff that like contributed to the overall series, you know. But I mean, it's probably not necessary. You're good with just reading Venom and reading Absolute Carnage.
There's a panel in this where Miles has this weird look on his face, and I'm like, well, that's a cool panel. Maybe I'd have gotten something more out of that if I'd have read the 3-issue Ahmed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it didn't make
Miles
sense either
Morales.
because at the end of the Miles Morales one, he had control over the symbiote.
That's what I
and
thought.
then back in the Carnage book, he like lost control. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we're just gonna forget about that. So there's a lot of miscommunication going on. Like when they're writing this, a lot of things didn't add up. A lot of people were in the wrong places at the wrong time, and yeah, so it's kind of a crapshoot. But I mean, whatever. Yeah. But what can you do? I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to organize and do. So
Yeah,
you know, props because I think it's one of the better events that's been done in a long time. So.
But did it feel like it did not feel like War of the Realms to me? Like I said, I felt like War of the Realms was an event, whereas I felt like this was
an arc.
Yeah.
Like it was another Venom arc.
I'm glad it was short though, because like by like maybe last month, I was kind of burned out in Carnage. Like honestly, and I heard that some other channels say that too. They're kind of tired of Carnage stuff too. So
well, there's 8 tie-ins.
But yeah.
There were 8 3 to 4 issue tie-ins,
flood,
and I don't like that at all. I don't want to be.
Yeah, Scream was decent, Tony Hodge.
Well, it sounds like we complain no matter what. It sounds like
complain
when they take
no matter what.
Yeah, we complain when they take over too much of the Marvel universe, and we complain when they don't take over enough.
Too less.
Yeah. So what should they do? What should they do?
No, I thought this was good. I thought this was fine. Yeah, I'm just glad it's done.
As an arc, this was fine. If you're gonna call it an event, then it brings it down a little bit because I would have had to read all these tie-ins and that stuff. But just reading Venom and this. Yeah, was very enjoyable. But again, it ended with a whimper because it, like you said, it didn't feel like an event. And I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative thing yet. I'm not sure. I guess it depends if we're seeing it as it's possibly an arc building up to the next thing. We have to wait for the next thing to see.
It's just
to
weird.
Really
it's
know
like,
what this is like.
Yeah, if you're reading Venom, this is great, and if you're not, this is pointless.
Yeah.
But again, going back to War of the Realms, it's like. If I don't want this, if I'm not reading Thor, I don't want this, but it's screwing up all of my books.
Right.
So there's no win for Marvel. That's where we're at.
That's right. Yeah. I'll continue to make sure they lose.
No, that would be a good omnibus though if it was all together. That is good.
Oh yeah.
But
man.
also,
don't you think it'll be like trades?
I also got my
Venom Volume 1
thing.
Oh,
that came in today.
That is beautiful.
Dude, it was bad.
Holy cow!
It's beautiful.
So is Donny Cates just going to put? Is he just going to put?
Amazing,
dude. The texture on this.
How much did you pay for
like
that?
A faux suede on here, man.
What'd you pay for
awesome.
that? Is that Amazon?
No, I got it from In Stock Trades, which you can probably get it now too, possibly for half off, dude. So normally it's $100. Got it for $50. I bought 2, so I'm giving one to my buddy who just got into comics. I'm gonna mail it off.
Am I your buddy? I'm just getting into comics.
Dude, they recolored, this. What some people don't like the recoloring, but I dig it. There's a lot of cool action chill on the back, man. Dude, it's awesome. It's beautiful.
Oh,
So
my
I
God.
recommend. And a lot of people had problems with the binding and warping as well. Were some big complaints, but mine is fine. So I got maybe lucky.
Yeah, happy
but-
belated birthday to Alan Moore, the greatest
That's right.
comic book writer who has ever walked the planet, in my opinion.
Other than Brian Michael Bendis.
Well, he doesn't
I got
write
the Hulk one
anymore.
too, because you need like a little bit over $50 for free shipping. So I was like, I'll get the Immortal Hulk Volume 1
Oh,
hardcover.
fun.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Adam, what were you saying there before
Sorry.
Jason did his humble brag?
Remember. I don't think he's going to remember.
Is Adam awake?
I don't remember.
All
I'm
right, you
sorry,
ready?
Adam.
What's on Gomer's Paw? Let's get into
Oh my
Gomer's
gosh.
Paw. I want
The-
that swamp thing. Oh, I'm
the
jealous.
mask. The mask. I pledge allegiance to the mask. Christopher Cantwell and Patrick Reynolds. Still loving this new mask series. A presidential candidate has the mask, and he's murdering his competition in the best of ways while trying to appeal to voters in the most baseless of ways. It's great story, great art. The Infected, Scarab, Dennis Hallam, Freddie E. Williams II. Who was it in the yeah, Eli, You're the Villain is leaking all over everything, and it's annoying. I think it's great. I think
I
it's
like those covers they're doing now, though.
those Aztec covers, yeah, they're rad. I
They
think
look great.
You're the Villain is the one thing holding the DC universe together right now, and it's all spinning around Justice League, which has just been wonderful. I read that this week too. Scott Snyder, Francis Manapul, and Howard Porter. Justice Doom. This part 7 of Justice Doom War, whatever they're calling it. Still the best thing. It's huge. It's all encompassing. It's everywhere. And I love it. Did anyone else read that Infected Scarab book this week?
No, I wanted to.
I didn't read it.
Why
you
is
go,
the
Boogie.
Batman who laughs always picking little kids?
Hey, Boogie, here's your ass tape.
Here's your ass tape.
Ass
Oh
tape.
my God! What is that?
That's Catwoman. Catwoman.
Yeah.
Wait, show me that again.
21.
Let me get Eli. That is a great cover.
Yeah.
But do you not like all of them? Like
I enjoyed the
Batman's-
idea of him.
Batman Superman number 4 was great.
Yeah.
Batman and the Outsiders number 7 was great. They're all
I'm
great.
loving You're the Villain, dude. Everything about it's just been really cool the way they're bringing everything
Yeah.
together.
And it feels like an event.
It feels like an
You know?
event, but it's like an
Yeah.
under the radar sort of quasi event, you know?
Right.
It feels like the universe is just a cohesive universe.
Mhm.
It almost feels like sometimes Marvel is like, yeah, our universe is connected, so let's do an event. And DC, in this case anyway, is like, our universe is connected, so let's make sure our books are connected. And you don't have to have an event to make your universe connected.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
Avengers 26, Jason Aaron, Dale Keown, Starbrand of 10 million BC or whatever. Background story.
Yeah, they're cool.
It was awesome, dude.
Oh, man, I'm excited to read
It
that.
was very cool. I also read He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse #1, Tim Seeley and Dan Fraga.
Is that pretty good?
This is Spider-Verse with He-Man.
Sick.
It's straight up Spider-Verse with He-Man. The Dolph Lundgren He-Man from the movie shows up because he's got that key thing. That key thing takes him to different universes.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's cool, dude.
Dude,
Only Tim Seeley. Tom
I really
Taylor,
love-
maybe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
only Tim
right.
Seeley. dude.
Yeah.
No
So I really
no
like that
Gwildor?
Injustice crossover. That
Yes.
was really good. So I was looking forward to this.
It's really cool, dude. I had a great time reading it. Great time reading it. And that's it. I read other stuff too. Like,
Dude, I picked up the
Something is
Mark
killing
Brooks
the
like,
children.
Captain Marvel.
oh, yeah.
That's a pretty good cover. You know, it looked cool. It's a new kind of villain. Then I got the $2.99. So we'll see how those are. But
Nice.
yeah.
You guys
Nothing
ready
else?
to move on?
Yeah,
Ready to
man,
get
we-
into the
your show,
outright
man. You're the
geekery
boss.
book of the week?
Do we
We're
have
gonna
to?
rip a book to shreds.
Do we have to?
Outright geekery. Book of the week.
Yeah.
OurightGeekery.com. When it's up and running, it's your one-stop shop for news and
Whatever, man. Now you want me to go check again. Damn it.
previous podcasts. Everything geek at your fingertips.
Just not right now.
OurightGeekery.com. Look, it's a hub of all things comic books. Check out the Outright
It's
Geekery
just
podcast.
broke as hell right
at
now.
work. Comic book bullies. That's my favorite. Eli, you and Leroy are awesome.
Yeah.
Look, there are so many Outright Geekery podcasts. I only listen to the bullies.
Uh,
Sorry, it's the
You should
truth.
I listen to the bullies, and I'm making sure I'm going to keep up on my girlish figure just for them.
Yeah, dude. When they said
were
that, I
shout-outs.
turned it off. When they're talking about Adam's body, I'm like,
They're like, he
done.
was posting gym pics the other day. I'm like, what was?
Dude,
he?
I'm flexing on the wrestling council. They're not talking about my biceps. Whatever. OutRightGeekery.com. Book of the week.
Oh,
Deadpool. Number 1.
My
written by
favorite thing is
Kelly-
it took them like a month to know the name of the wrestling show. They're like, they knew there was a wrestling show, but neither Eli or Leroy
They don't care. They don't
looked to see what the title of the damn show was.
care. Eli doesn't
it.
like me. He's here every week, and he doesn't like me, and that's okay. He's my
They're
Facebook
like,
friend. Doesn't like
I think
me.
it's called the Wrestling Council, and they're like, canceled? Didn't it just start?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, Eli. I appreciate it, Eli. I'm a fan of you, even though you don't like me. It's okay. It's okay, man.
Funny. That's awesome.
I'm your Facebook friend. I watch all your heavy. I watch all your heavy metal videos, but
I gave you a thumbs up.
Deadpool number 1, written by Kelly Thompson, pencils by Chris Bacalo, inks by 14 people, colors by David Curell, letters by Joe Sabino. BC's Joe Sabino.
Sabino.
Dude, so many people ripping on this book before it even came out. It can't be
Really,
that
dude?
bad.
What'd you
man.
hear about it? I didn't hear anything.
You what?
Yeah, you
no.
got to tell me. You got to tell me.
I'm pretty sure I said.
Wait, what
when-
are you talking about? Everybody said this book sucked before it ever came out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like
What'd you
Tuesday.
expect?
I'm pretty sure like Tuesday
Dude.
night I was talking smack on it that I had heard online.
Scotty Young's Deadpool was great.
That was
but-
fine. But, I mean, it doesn't compare to Duggan's, man. Duggan's has some mystery, some intrigue, some detective work going on there, and then some, of course, Deadpool comedy.
Yeah.
And it's clever and witty. It's fun. But I mean, this one, it's just regular Deadpool. I don't know.
I mean, look
Yes.
what
He
happens
lost us down in precious pudding puff.
when you look what happens when you open it.
Okay,
Wow.
okay. Let's talk about this
Brilliant.
book.
Drew said it in the chat. Deadpool was solid Deadpool if you like Deadpool. It
Yeah.
was fine.
No, I really don't like Deadpool.
I don't know if
Sorry.
this was terrible or not because I don't
This
like
sucked.
Deadpool.
This
Yeah.
sucked. I'm not a big Deadpool fan,
Me neither.
but Scotty Young's Deadpool was great. This was not. Let me talk about it. and
Do
then
it,
we'll rip
Boogie.
it.
Go
Is it
ahead.
because she's a woman, Boogie? Is that what?
That's why I hate women and I'm a Nazi. It's what it is.
They had to throw Gwenpool in there. You knew they
Oh,
were going
God.
to.
Oh God. Let's talk
Yeah,
about it.
Drew, Botchalo's art was cool. Actually, there was a
No,
little bit too
it
many,
wasn't. It
too
was
many
garbage.
close-up
Let
panels.
me talk about the book.
The
So
chat is the
Deadpool-
lifeblood of
I don't
the show.
care. Drew
the
is
hell with
wrong.
you, chat. Boogie's
Drew's
talking.
wrong. Drew, you're getting comments on your last review telling you to do your homework. Go check the chat. Deadpool is hired to kill a monster, the Monster King, who has laid claim to Staten Island. And the monster's claim is legal? What?
I don't know. I guess.
What? According to 17th century deal with desperate humans. What? In the words of Steve, what? This is the real kicker. The claim is being fought in court. What?
Yeah.
But there's no time. So enter Deadpool. Elsa Bloodstone, of course, hashtag whammon, shows up. And she's after the same monster, but for different reasons. And there's some twists and turns here. And Deadpool becomes the new king of the monsters. And this drug on forever. Forever.
It's
There's
Riddick.
so
It's
much-
Riddick rules. If you kill the leader, you're the leader.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Riddick
but
rules.
there's so much dialogue in this
There's
book.
a lot of dialogue. There's
It's
a lot of dialogue.
Deadpool. It's
Yeah.
Deadpool. Give me quick, easy reads with jokes and laughs and violence. That's all I want. And some of the artwork, you guys talking about the artwork. Some of the artwork look great. When you look at it, it's like, this is great artwork. Why are they zoomed up his nostrils?
Yes, that's the problem I had with it. It was zoomed in on some
Every
parts of it.
panel.
Why?
Every-
Some of it, I'm like, what am I looking at here? Like, and then I was
Yeah.
like, when it backs, I'm like, oh, okay, I think that was this part of the body.
Yeah,
Zoomed
but
in.
that took me
It was
right
like
out
my
of it.
kid was filming this comic book.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It was weird.
Can you take a
What's in my
picture? It's
It
like-
says a little kid taking a picture of his family and heads are cut off.
Yeah.
That's what the artwork was in this book. I didn't tag Kelly Thompson in this. I think Kelly Thompson, she wrote some Star Wars stories
Yes.
that were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think this is throwing a bone to Kelly Thompson. Let's give her a Deadpool. Let's give her a major character. And it didn't deliver.
I
Put her
thought
on
she was pretty funny. I like the I say good day, sir. I tell you good day.
Put her on
there's
Star
little
Wars.
jokes.
Let her write
That's
ongoing
fun.
Star Wars, man.
If you like Deadpool, you're gonna like this book. You know,
No,
Possibly.
that's not
It's hard
true.
for me to speak to that because I'm a fan of Deadpool when he's in X-Force.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
that's when I loved Deadpool. But beyond that, even the Choose Your Own Adventure Deadpool, which was a great read, it wasn't cool just because Deadpool was there. It was just a fun gimmick sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's really the
Yeah,
only
that's neat.
Deadpool I've liked besides the movies, you know.
Yeah, it was a little wordy for my taste for Deadpool. You know, it
Yeah.
didn't need to be
Yes.
that wordy. To answer Serenity's question, Elsa, I think she will be back in the series later on. They kind of made like a little love interest thing, a little thing in there between them.
I
So
would like to see
She'll be
that
back.
go on. I would like to see that as
I
well.
was that was the one point
There
I
you go,
was
Serenity. Give Kelly an X book.
I was happy.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
sure,
this
sure, Mrs.
book
X again, that'd be
was with Elsa Bloodstone.
Yeah,
when I
she's a
saw
great
her,
character.
and like I was introduced to her through Next Wave, and I just think it's an awesome character. And I would have been happy this not being Deadpool. It's been a Elsa Bloodstone book.
That
it was
the
fine.
best
And
part
then
of the book. I thought she wrote
and then
Elsa
when
Bloodstone better than she wrote Deadpool.
and then when
Yeah.
Gwenpool showed up, I was like,
I'm not a fan
do
of
we
Deadpool
really
either.
need Gwenpool? Come
Drew
on.
said in the chat that Gwenpool is cool because she's meta. That's actually why I don't like her, because she's so meta. It's almost like they're making fun of Marvel Comics with this character to a point where it's insulting. It's the reason I don't watch The Big Bang Theory. It almost feels insulting in a way. You know?
It's like
It
I
does.
said,
Maybe
It's
that's
not
just
the
my
only
hang
one.
up.
It was too many
Marvel-
words, bro.
Yeah.
Marvel should have a bootleg Deadpool character called Cash Grab. That's what they should have.
Good. Yeah.
Serenity
I mean,
says sadly
Everyone
monsters.
always says that I hate a lot of words most of the time.
Serenity
I
says-
agree whenever someone else says that.
Mhm.
True. Because I like my wordy books, you know, Alan Moore Swamp Thing and lots of other stuff, you know, can be
I don't
wordy.
want
That's
Deadpool
but the
to
words
wordy.
have to make me want to read the
Yeah.
next words.
Yeah. Serenity says monsters don't sell that well.
She's
And
not
I
wrong. Or not wrong.
no,
I agree. And that Elsa Bloodstone would have been great, but this is
Yeah.
Deadpool. It's like, why are we trying to throw Elsa into Deadpool? Let Kelly Thompson write Elsa Bloodstone.
Yeah.
And
I
why
was
is the-
way
why
more
the
into that than I
monsters
was.
been-
Mrs. X again. Like, that'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
And why the monster spin at all on Deadpool?
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand that. It just seems a weird premise to me.
It's almost like they pitched this book for Elsa Bloodstone,
I'd
and
be
they
cool
were,
with
and
an
then they
Elsa
were
book.
like, "Well, let's put Deadpool in this."
No, you're right.
Elsa Bloodstone
Yeah.
is like a cooler blade,
Oscar,
really, to me,
Yeah,
man.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And they could have thrown her. Shoot, I mean, some of the characters from Next Wave that you don't see anymore, you could have thrown them back in there with her. Bring them back. Bring back some characters that we don't see a lot that were entertaining characters.
She had that book during Secret Wars when Hickman was doing the Battle World thing. That was great, dude.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Didn't she? Wasn't she? Was she the one involved with like fighting the zombies?
I don't
think
remember. I don't know.
Part of the zombie world or whatever it was.
Can we rate this garbage book?
I rated $1.99 just
That's where
because
I'm
the
at,
art
$1.99.
did shine in some spots. But overall, this is like a mishmash of stupid layered on top of dumb, and I just couldn't find the energy to care.
Better panel layouts. This artwork would have been amazing.
Possibly, yeah.
So I'm at $1.99 too.
I want to be $1.99, but I'm gonna be really nice and say $2.99.
Oh, shut up! Because you
Fine.
think Kelly Thompson's listening.
I love you,
I
Kelly.
want to be.
He's gonna slide into your DMs, bro.
Do it. I would love it. Hi, Kelly.
We said positive things about Kelly. You know, it
I
just
wanna
isn't
see,
good.
Hi, Kelly.
Actually,
I want an X book. Another
I want
in this
Mrs.
new
X.
status
That'd
quo
be
of X. I
awesome.
would love that.
Kelly,
Wrong
you're right.
character.
Mrs. X. That'd be
They're
great.
doing
Wrong
such
character.
cool things with Gambit and Rogue right now in Excalibur. I mean, not great, but there's potential there. I'd love to see more of that.
I was.
Totally.
I don't know. I've
Discount
dollar
me, bro. Don't talk about
no,
dog.
no,
days.
no.
I was
Don't talk
gonna
about
say,
dog days and
actually,
defend
I
this.
wanna say
$3.99.
I want to say $2.49.
Sure
Oh
you
my
do.
gosh!
This is
why?
great.
Because it's
Dog days is trash,
$1.99.
but This is
It's
great.
$1.99, but I was happy to see Elsa Bloodstone.
Yep. Hashtag mute Adam. Can we get hashtag mute Adam rolling?
Yeah.
I want to see hashtag mute Adam in the chat.
Yeah, the Captain Marvel stuff has been good, and they're spinning that into that Star book. You know, a book is good at Marvel if they're spinning off, another book. So I'm just not sure where this book fell off, man. I don't know.
I got one laugh. I got one laugh for muting you, Adam. I don't know if it was worth it. What's your legit rating? 249 legit? Oh, wow. Is this a repeat of Talking Balls?
Only you're the dauber this time, Boogie.
Man.
No, I'm not. I'm not mean mugging anybody.
Serenity Star is getting, I think, a mini. I'm not sure if it's ongoing, but there's
yeah, it's at least
definite
a
Star
mini.
Series coming out. Yeah.
Well, you know how Marvel is, dude. If it sells, they'll roll it right into.
It looks great character design. I like the outfit a lot.
Dude, me
Yeah.
too. I don't know who does that variant cover for the first issue, where she's it's almost like an homage to that first Captain Marvel cover.
Yep.
There's
so many great covers coming out. It looks great. It looks awesome. I'm going to give that a shot. And I love this costume design too of the evil Captain Marvel.
And that's going away, right? That's not.
I think it's got to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks cool, man.
I read the first arc of that Captain Marvel and fell off.
I wasn't interested until they said they're going to make her a villain. I'm like, okay, I'll read that. She looks evil and cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Well, if you remember the first one, it was one of those instances where they took it in one direction and then she entered a portal and it went in a completely different direction.
Jeez.
It just turned off the whole panel because of that, but it started doing well. It picked up steam.
William Bay says Adam is steamed.
He is steamed. It's okay.
It's
steamed hams.
It's a bit. It's a bit. It's fine.
It's steamed.
We love him.
Steamed
Adam's
ham.
Revenge. Hashtag pay-per-view. That's going to wrap it up for ComicCast issue 171.
Well, next week.
Big shout out to Charles Stickney coming on. Let's talk about what you're excited about next week. Not a lot coming out. It's a weird week. Gomer, what are you picking up?
Star Trek Picard Countdown #1. Mike Johnson, Kristen Beyer, Angel Hernandez. What can I say? I love Trek. Avengers 27. Jason Aaron, Ed McGuinness. Riot in the Space Prison. Starbrand Reborn, and Transformers Galaxies #3, Tyler Blazinski, Livio Ramondelli. Tyler Blazinski did comment on us hating on the first issue of this. It's come back. Issue 2 was good, dude.
I'm glad he took our criticism and said, guys, give me a chance and come back for issue 2.
Yeah,
instead of being like, screw you guys, I'm blocking you, blah, blah, blah.
Right, it happened.
He said, I get what you're saying. Give it a chance in issue 2.
And I did, and he was right. It's gotten a lot better, and issue 3 looks to even build more on that. So very excited about those books. There's more too, but hey, whatever. I picked 3.
Yeah, we got Machine Gun Wizards issue 4.
It's changed. Yeah, there was a Tommy Gun Wizard something else, and they didn't decide to fight it.
Talk about not taking criticism up.
Same thing happened to Dead Rabbit. Remember?
Oh man.
Same thing happened to Dead Rabbit. They had to change the name.
Good. I hope they cancel the whole book.
Oh my gosh, Boogie. So bitter. So petty.
So mad.
It's the only way he's going to get better.
Nah, bro. Yeah, well, clearly he doesn't know that.
Dude, Last God issue 2.
Already?
Yeah.
Woo! Man, that's a good series.
What, Shazam issue 8? Dude,
yes,
I'm excited.
Finally.
Can't wait, bro. Can't wait for that.
Finally.
Gosh.
Postal Deliverance #5, Invisible Woman #5, wrapping up that series. That's been
That
so
Invisible
good.
Woman #5 preview looks incredible. The
That
art in
book
that
has been
book
so
has been
good.
That's great.
superb,
Yeah,
dude.
I agree. Yeah,
so
it's
good.
amazing. Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Infinite Crisis.
I think that's
That's
on the list.
the Book of the Week poll.
Oh, my bad.
Jason wasn't here for that. That's on the Book of the
I
Week
was not.
poll. The Crow, Hark the Herald.
The
Christmas
Crow's on the
story.
poll?
Let's get
It's
into
a Crow like
Christmas story,
Christmas
bro.
one shot.
What?
It's gonna be fun. Philadelphia or Tales from the Dark Multiverse.
Philadelphia looks
Infinite
awesome.
Crisis.
I'm excited to read that.
Go vote at ComicCast Pod. Go check it out. We got to wrap this thing up. ComicCast issue number 171 for Gomer, for Adam Wade Adams, who is not mad. He's happy. For Jason, Comics Misexplained. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys next week.